If you have a dental practice and are looking to generate more patients using Google Ads, this video is for you. Google Ads can be hard to make work, but when done right, it can be a highly profitable way to bring in a steady flow of new patients. Today, I'm doing a live demo of how to set up and use Google Ads to attract more inquiries and patients for dental practices. I'll be picking a business at random and showing you how to set up campaigns from start to finish. And later in the video, I'll show you my proven list of the highest converting keywords for dentists. Before we start, if you've never seen one of my videos before, my name's Adrian Harrison from Grow Savvy Marketing, and I help service businesses generate more leads and sales using Google Ads. Right, let's get into it. So I've done a Google search for a dentist and we're going to choose this one here. This is just a random choice. There's no rhyme or reason to it. First thing you want to do is we're going to choose 1 to 2 services that we're going to start with. I know that you've probably got a lot of different services that you could offer, and it might be tempting to choose some of these higher end services, but start with the simple services first, your everyday services, get the campaign working, and then you can add more services as you can go. And the reason you do this is because if you're just starting out and you've only got a limited budget, we want to direct all that budget into a small number of services or campaigns. We don't want to spread our budget really wide. And if by spreading things wide, we may not get enough data or enough clicks to really optimize the campaign properly. So we'll start with 1 or maybe 2. In this case, I would choose just the general dentistry. So dentist plus your area to start with, just a general sort of location campaign, and perhaps we can go dentist checkup. We can choose something like that, like a checkup service, and later on you might want to consider having something like crowns or bridges or implants or teeth whitening or whatever else is that you offer. But I would suggest just starting with a pretty easy general search term that there's going to be a lot of traffic for. Once you've chosen your 1 to 2 services, we're going to come over to Google Ads. You're going to log in and you'll get a screen something like this. And we're going to come over and hit the create button and create campaign. First thing we're going to do, we're going to come over here and we're going to create the campaign without a goals guidance. We'll scroll down and we're going to choose search campaign. We don't want to use a display campaign. That's a whole nother beast, and it's not something I would recommend, especially for brand new accounts. Or we don't want to use performance max either, because that's another entirely different campaign. Search is going to be the easiest one to get things started with. We'll scroll down and we're just going to hit continue. Then we're going to come and put a name in. But before I do, I just want to run through and show you exactly how a Google Ads account is structured. So this is the structure of a Google Ads account. We have the account, which underneath it, we've got campaigns, we've got ad groups, and we've got ads. So within a campaign, this is where we organize our targeting. So that can be locations, it can be age groups, it can be a whole bunch of stuff. And what we usually do with campaigns is we could group it in different ways. We could group it by location or different types of services or both. Underneath the campaign, then we're going to have our ad groups. And each ad group is usually going to be a specific set of keywords that are aimed at one service. So it might be braces, for example, or it might be crowns, or it might be dental checkups. So we really want to group similar things together. And the reason we do that is so that when we write our ads, we can have the keywords that we're using or the words for the service actually in the ad text. So we really want to have like an ad that says dental checkup in it rather than just a general ad. We want to be really specific as to the keyword that the user has actually typed in. And the other thing that this allows us to do too is to have a specific landing page. So a landing page is the page that the user will get taken to once they click on your ad. And you want that landing page to be really close to what they've searched for, and you definitely don't want to take them to your home page or something like that. So we've got the ads here, and within each of the ad groups we'll usually have at least 2 ads. And the reason for that is we want to be testing different ads. There can be a really big difference between the amount of clicks and the performance of different ads. Some ads may get twice as many, 3 times or 4 times as many clicks as other ads. The other thing we've got under the ad group is the different keywords. So these are just going to be a small set, a tightly set of keywords that are going to target a specific service or a specific location. Okay, now that you know what the account structure is and how that's going to look, we're going to come over here, we're going to put in our name. So I'm going to put S for search, and we're going to have dentist locations. So this is going to be a campaign that focuses on locations. Now this page here is where we're going to set our bidding strategy. To start with, I'd recommend clicks. There are a number of other options which we can use later on, but for new accounts, and new services, I would start with clicks. We want to get as much data as we can, as quick as we can, and then once we're getting some conversions and we have enough conversions, we can start optimizing the account, and we may choose to use something like conversions or conversion value. Start with clicks for now, and we can also set a maximum cost per click. We're not going to set that now, we can always set that later. We're going to come over here, we're going to leave this option because we don't want to bid just for new customers. So we're going to hit next. This page here is where we're going to set most of our targeting up and our campaign settings. So we're going to choose search network, and we're going to turn include Google search partners off. We don't want this one on. That's just going to use up our budget and not get us very good results. We're also going to turn the display network off. Locations. Now this one's really important. Without choosing this, Google's going to show your ads over the whole world, and that's definitely not what we want. We're going to come down here, we're going to enter our location, advanced. And what we can do with this one, we can either choose some specific city, suburbs, or we can choose a radius as well. So I'll just show what that looks like. So if we're choosing a suburb, so as you can see, that's shown the whole of the suburb. So this is where your ads are going to be shown. So what I recommend with a local dentist is choosing your suburb and some of the surrounding suburbs. I wouldn't go too far, because unless you've got a reputation for a particular service, people generally aren't going to travel, especially if there's a lot of other dentists to choose from. So I'd be choosing something quite close. So what we could do, if we wanted to add other suburbs, we could say just add it in here like this. Include, let's try a radius. So let's try, now 20 kilometers is going to be far too far. So let's just start with 5. Turn it off. Try again. There we go. So probably 5 kilometers is probably about as far as people are going to travel, maybe a little bit more. Now I'm going to show you how to exclude locations as well. Let's say you found that people generally won't come from Pennant Hills and you're not getting any customers from there. So we may as well exclude it, because it's just going to be wasting our budget if we're not turning them into customers. So what we'll do is we're going to hit location and we're going to hit exclude. So that's going to exclude that area, as you can see. So once we're done with this, we can hit save, and now we've set our location targeting. Okay, location options. For this one here, I recommend presence. So this one is people in or regularly in your included locations, and what that means is that the person actually has to be in your targeted area for Google to show them ads. So if they're outside your area, your ads aren't going to show up. Later on, you can experiment with choosing this option. And what this one is that's for people, it'll show your ads when people are outside your area, but searching within your targeted area. So for example, if your keyword is dentist Epping, and you have someone, maybe they're at work and they work in another city, or they work somewhere outside your targeted area, and they type in dentist Epping, if we had this one selected, your ad would not show, but because they're not physically in your area. But if we have this one selected, then your ads will show. Now, this one is for later on. I would recommend just keep it at this first, get your campaigns optimized, then we can experiment, because you can get a lot of wasted spend with this one here. We can get people from all over the place, and it might not be worth having on. So languages, we're just going to leave it at English. Audience segments, really we want to leave observation on. We're not going to use targeting, because what targeting is, it allows you to target specific sets or types of people based on their interests or what Google thinks they're interested in buying at that moment. We're going to keep observation on. Observation means it's going to allow Google to gather data, but it's not going to actually change who we're targeting. So we can just come over to browse here. We can just choose some of the parental ones. We'll choose all the marital status ones, homeowners, renters, and we'll choose some of the employment ones. We don't need to go crazy with this. We'll just leave some of them on for now. We can always come back and add them later. Okay, for this one, we're going to set this one later. We're not going to start with broad match keywords. We'll start with exact match to start with, which I will explain a bit more in detail later. So we'll come down to more settings. Ad rotation. There are a couple of different options here. We've first got optimize, and then we've got do not optimize, rotate ads indefinitely. Optimize, this is going to allow Google to decide which is your better performing ads. So what I should say is you're going to need at least 2 ads running in the same ad group for any of these settings to have an effect on your account. So this option will let Google decide which is your better performing ad, and Google's going to show your best performing ad more. This option down here is do not optimize. It's going to rotate your ads evenly. So there's 2 kind of camps of thoughts with this. Some people prefer to rotate their ads evenly and indefinitely, and then they will choose the winning ad. Other people prefer to let Google do it. I'm going to just leave the optimize option on, because it's going to be the least amount of work for you at the moment. Start end dates. This is the date your campaign is going to start, the start date. I would start your campaign at the beginning of a full day if you're halfway through the day or 3/4 of the way through the day, I wouldn't be starting it on that day. I'd start it for the following day, because that's going to allow Google to spread your budget throughout the day. If there's not much of the day left, Google is going to race through all of your budget as quick as possible to make sure it spends it. In date, I would select none here, unless you've got a promotion running of some kind. It's a promotional campaign, but otherwise we're going to leave it none. Ad schedule. Now this one's important. Without selecting anything here, Google will run your ads 24/7. And what I've found is usually you're going to get quite low quality clicks during the night or late at night and very early in the morning. So we're going to choose all days. We're going to start at about 6 a.m. or 6:30, and we're going to run ads until about 10 at night. Sometimes people like to come home, like they come home from work and they might be looking for a dentist after work, or this one might be this before work they might be looking. If you go too much later than this, you're going to get quite low quality clicks and probably a lower conversion rate. The other thing to keep in mind too is where you're sending your traffic. If you're sending them to an inquiry form where they fill out a form, then you can keep this on all the time, all days. But if you're running a call campaign, which is a different kind of campaign, which is prompting them to pick up the phone and call you, you want to make sure that there's someone there that can answer the call. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting your budget. Generally as well, with any inquiry form, you want to be getting back to those people as soon as possible, preferably within a couple of minutes. The longer you leave it, the less chance you've got of them converting or turning into a customer, because they'll move on to the next business and they'll send another inquiry, and generally whoever gets back to them first is probably going to win the business. More settings, campaign URL options. This is only going to be used if you've got some sort of external tracking or you've got some other tracking. We're going to leave that off for now, and we're going to leave brands untouched for now as well. So we'll click next, and this is where we're going to start creating our ad. Now Google has a new option. You can see it's only in beta here, and that's using the AI to help create your ad. Sometimes you can get something useful, other times it's not so useful. So just to show you, we'll put the URL in here. So we'll come over here. Now I wouldn't be sending anyone to your home page. I wouldn't send anyone to a page like this either, but this is just for demonstration purposes. We'd have a specific landing page. Okay, so now Google, as you can see, Google's looking at things, and they've pulled some text from the site, and we're going to hit generate. So these are some of Google's recommendations. You can see they've filled in our keywords. This is the landing page we entered. We've got the final URL is the landing page, and they've added some of the ad text here. So they've added headlines and they've added some descriptions down here. We're not going to do that, so we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to create our own. So we're going to skip this, and we're going to create an ad group. So we'll come over here, we're going to enter the final URL to our landing page. Get rid of that so I don't keep doing that. In this section here is where we're going to add our keywords. So keyword selection is a whole video in itself. And I'll give you a quick rundown, and I'm going to show you my best performing keywords for dental practices. But before I do, let's just take a look at the different keyword search types, or match types I should say. So there's 3 different match types. We've got broad match, phrase match, and exact match. Broad match, as the name suggests, is going to return quite broad results. So the example here is home decor, and what could be returned in the search results is cream coloured leather sectional. So you can see that's very, very broad, and usually this is not something I would be recommending using for brand new campaigns, and recommend that we start with something quite tight and quite an exact phrase. So phrase match, this is a little bit closer. So as you can see, we've got cheap furniture stores, living room furniture deal. What store is the best place to find a bedroom dresser? So all of these sort of things are going to come up when we put this in. And again, as you can see, it's very broad. So to make the most of our budget and not waste it on irrelevant searches, we're going to use exact match to start with. So exact match is going to be very similar to what you've typed in. So as you can see, we've got furniture store, home furnishing store. They're different words, but the meaning is generally going to be the same. That's what we're going to search with. And one other thing I should say is when we're putting these words in, so when we want an exact match keyword, we're going to put these brackets around our keyword. When we want phrase match, we're going to put the quotation marks. And then if we want broad match, we're going to have none of those. So we'll come back over to our account. Now I'm going to show you what I think are the best sort of keywords that we can add for our dental practice. So this is like a framework I would use. We've got types of business, location, which suburb or city. So we might have dentist, and then we're going to have your suburb. So for our example, it's Epping. But if your suburb is part of a bigger city, you might also have dentist Sydney. What you need to remember is when you're having a city, especially if it's a big city like Sydney, Sydney is going to be a very broad search term, and so you could have people from all over the city searching for that. Having your suburb in there means you're going to limit that to less people. But having Dentist Sydney, that also shouldn't be too much of a problem if you've got your location targeting set well. So if you've set a small area, a radius, or you've set a group of suburbs, that's also going to help you show only to people in your area or relevant people. So because we're doing exact match, we're going to put the brackets around it like that. Next thing we could do is we can have dentist, if I can spell it. So we might have the type of service, so we might say it's an emergency dentist, and then we're going to put our location, and we might also have just the service, teeth cleaning. If we choose something like this, keep in mind too, could be quite a broad phrase. So, and it could mean quite a lot of things. I wouldn't start with something like this because it is quite broad. And so what I mean by that is teeth cleaning could have multiple intents behind whatever someone is searching for. So it could mean tips on teeth cleaning, or best toothbrushes for teeth cleaning, best toothpastes for teeth cleaning. It could mean quite a lot of things. Someone that types this in isn't necessarily searching for a dentist, but someone that types in teeth cleaning dentist Epping is definitely searching for a dentist. Even something like this, the service plus your location, they're more than likely searching for a dentist. But you do have to keep in mind, you have to sort of think about the other things someone could mean when they're searching for that. And one more high performing keyword that we can choose is dentist near me. Well, this search term here is particularly good for someone on a mobile phone. So if they're searching from their mobile, they'll type in something like this. And this is going to be good for phone inquiries and a good converting keyword. Because we're focusing on general dentistry, we'll just choose a few other keywords. So dentist clinic, Epping, dental clinic. In reality, even though we've got this one set here, but these terms probably would show up on Google anyway without you having to enter them. So with this too, we only want to choose really about half a dozen keywords. It used to be that you'd put a whole lot in. Now we're kind of limiting it to quite small. Down here is where we're going to put our ad in and put all the details for our ad. So the final URL, that's going to go to our landing page. So we're going to copy that page, we're going to put that there. Now landing pages is a whole topic in itself, but I'll just give you some pointers and some overview on having the best landing page for your dentist. So what we want to do is we want to strip out all the navigation, because what we're going to do, we're going to make the page nice and simple, and we want a very clear course of action for whoever lands on it. We don't want them clicking on all this other stuff and getting distracted and not filling out the form. Our goal is to get them to fill out the contact form. So as you can see, we've got a nice prominent contact form. I'd probably have less fields than this. You only want to have as many fields as necessary to get the job done. So you can try testing it with the email or the phone, or perhaps you might just take out the phone number and just have the email, or vice versa. The more fields you have, the less people are going to fill it out. Other thing, it's good to have the address up the top and another call to action or your phone number right at the top, because people are going to call you directly off that. And as you can see, this page here doesn't have all the navigation, so there's nothing else left for them to do. Next thing, we want a clear headline. Usually we want something a little bit more compelling than this, but at minimum we want to have our keywords in the headline. So we want people to know that they're in the right place and this is for them and this is what they've come for. And you might have a couple of services or benefits just up here. And the other thing that you could add here is your Google reviews, or a little widget showing 59 or 159 Google reviews. That sort of thing is going to definitely help increase your conversions and get people to click or fill out your form. So over here I've got a bit of a wireframe, just a basic layout of how you might have a landing page. So a header, that would be this section here. Under it we would either have an image or a contact form. So the image is generally going to be a happy patient, preferably at your dentist and not a stock image. We're going to have a headline, and underneath we might have our value proposition of why someone should choose you, and the button. If we don't have a form here, we'd have a button that goes to a call to action, which is what we want them to do. Underneath that, we'd have some benefits of choosing us. We might have a video here, and that might talk a little bit more about who we help and what sort of things we offer. And it's important that all of these are aimed at the actual user. They're not all about us. We want them to talk to the user and the user's problems, so your patient's problems, and all the sort of things that you do to increase their comfort and to solve their problem. We could have some more benefits down here. We wouldn't have logos here, but we might be able to have happy client comments. I know it might be a little bit limited in this sort of field, but you could probably have something like, you know, the customer service was excellent and they really looked after me. I know you probably can't give endorsements as such. And underneath further, we're going to have another call to action, which is going to be the same one. And below that, we just have our footer. And we wouldn't have a standard footer. We'd have quite a stripped down one. Like this one's not too bad because it is quite stripped down. It doesn't have all the usual about us, contact us, a whole lot of other stuff. We just want to have the basic information and for them to be able to get in touch with us and not get distracted. So that's kind of what you need to do for your landing page. So you put that in there. In here, this is our display path. And this is a good opportunity to add extra keywords. So you might add your location in here. As you can see, it'll come up here in a moment. So scrolling down, this is where we're going to add our headlines. So one proven strategy of having good headlines is to include your keyword. So dentist Epping. So that'll come up over here, as you can see. The other thing that we can add into here is we might have some specials that we might have, or we might have some awards or something that we might want to mention as well. Some other things we can include special deals. So it might be teeth cleaning, $99. Teeth cleaning special, $99. The other types of things that we can have is rated dentist. Now you don't want to be shy in this section here. You really want to sell yourself and you want to get the click, or it might be dental dentist. Something that's going to talk to people's anxiety when choosing a dentist can work too. Then we're going to have a description. So we're going to talk more about what you guys do, and we're also going to include some keywords as well in this section over here. Okay, for the description, a few tips are to avoid any sort of jargon. We don't want to use any industry terms. We want to have some calls to action. So inquire now or call today, that sort of thing. We want to also focus on the benefits and also pain points about what your clients or your patients' pain points are. So some of the pain might be that they find dentists, painful. So you want to counteract that in some way, or that, they might wait a long time and, your dentist might always be on time. So you want to include some of those unique things that you guys offer that no one else does. So Google also has some ideas here, which we can have a look at here. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good, but we can just click that if we want to enter that. And if we want to add more descriptions, we can click this one here. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to come down to this section here, business name and logos. This is exactly how it sounds. We can add our business name and logo here. Site links. Now I'll show you what site links are. Okay, these are site links over here. They're links to other pages on your website. And when you're putting things like this in, you want to make sure they're highly relevant to the searcher and that they're going to go to a specific landing page. So I wouldn't bother with about us. If someone's searching for a dentist, we might have services, or I'd probably put specific services here, saying emergency dentist, teeth cleaning, that sort of thing. And take them straight to the page that you want to take them to. But make sure it's a specific landing page and it's actually a page about that. Do not send them to your home page because that's not going to do anything for you. If in doubt, just leave these ones off. But it can be advantageous having these on because it increases the real estate on the page that you've taken up. As you can see, you've got an extra line. It's made you add a little bit, just that little bit bigger. So to add site links, we just click here. So we might say teeth cleaning. As you can see, it's put it in here, and then we could write a little description about that, and the final URL is going to be to our landing page again. So when we're done, we just hit create. The callouts, they're a little bit different to site links, whereas they're not a link, so I'll show you what they are. So we might have something like same day appointment. Now that's going to appear under here. You want to fill these out. We might have something like 24/7 emergency service, open 7 days, same day appointment, pain free options, or something like that. Now, as you can see, that's added a whole lot of extra selling points to your ad, and the aim of the game is here, you want to take up as much real estate on the page as possible. This is what it's going to look like from desktop as well. So we've got all our call outs here, and then we just hit apply. So coming down here onto the more asset types, we've got promotions. So this is meant for a temporary thing. So if you've got a temporary promotion, so we might have special teeth cleaning. So we've got over here $99 off teeth cleaning. And that's where you put the final URL. So that's the page that it goes to. And here we can have the start and the end date of the promotion. If it's like a short-term promotion, if it's running all the time, then we can just keep this as none. and then we'd hit save. Prices, you can choose to add prices here. It's generally better not to. Calls, you definitely want to add this one here. This is going to add your phone number to the listing, like, let's see if we can find one like this here. And if you haven't got a phone number set up, you hit new call, put your country in, so we're in Australia, and we choose our conversion action. If we haven't got one set up, you want to make sure you have one set up specifically for calls. So setting up conversion actions is a whole nother topic as well. So I will look to do a video on that later. But for now, we're just going to use calls from ads. And we've got some other features here, so we can choose what days and what times we want our phone number like this to be displaying. For the times down here, you want to choose the days and the times where your phone is actually going to be answered, rather than setting it for all days. Because if someone calls your number, then you're just going to be wasting your budget if someone has clicked on your ad to call. So I'm going to hit cancel because we're not going to add that today. Structured snippets. Now these are a bit similar to call outs, which are over here, except these are more lists or groups of ideas. So it might be groups of, like a group of services, for example. If we come over to here, we've got some other different things or categories of things that we can add. So we might say teeth cleaning, tooth extraction, maybe crown, like that. And that's going to come up over here. And again, that's just going to add to the extra real estate that our ad is actually going to be taking up on the page. So we create. Lead forms, you want to leave this one because we're going to be sending the traffic to our own landing page and not using the Google lead form apps. We want to leave that. URL options, that's only for if you have specific tracking set up. So we're going to leave that blank for now, and then we're going to hit done and next. So this page here is where we're going to set our budget. So for a dental campaign, you're going to want to set your budget for at least $50 a day, probably $100 a day, and that's going to give you enough data. Because as you can see, the clicks are quite expensive, so they could come in at this. They're probably going to come in a lot less than this. This is usually a lot higher than what they actually cost, so maybe they might come in at $8 or $7. You're not going to know until you actually start the campaign and start it running. But you want to come and set your budget down here, and it's going to tell you roughly how many clicks you can expect. In this case, you're going to get about 84 clicks. And if you've got a good campaign, you might get somewhere like between 8 and 15 or 20 inquiries from that, and that's going to be your total cost here. So again, it's hard to say how much it's going to cost per inquiry. That really depends how optimized your campaign is and whether you're going for really competitive terms. If you're going for sort of high ticket competitive terms, it's going to cost you a lot more than some of the lower ticket items. Generally, it's better to stay away from Google's budget. You want to set your own budget. And one other thing that you should note is that just because you've doubled your budget, like here we've got $235 in there, saying Google's saying you might get 128 clicks. If we come over here, we've got 84 clicks. So it's not proportional. Your budget is not proportional to how many clicks you're going to get. Just because you double your budget doesn't mean you're going to get double the number of clicks. So there is a sweet spot. As the higher you go, generally the more your campaign or the more your clicks are going to cost you, so you're going to get less clicks for your money. So hit next. Now if you've done everything right, or everything correctly, your campaign will be ready to publish. And this page is just a review. Ours hasn't got everything correct because we didn't write the ad properly. So it shows up here. But we can come back down here, we can review all the settings that we've entered, and then we are pretty much ready to roll. One thing I forgot to mention on that last screen I just showed you, once you've got all the settings correct and everything's ready to roll, then there'll be a big blue publish button which you can click on. After you've done that, then you can come back to the Google Ads homepage over here, or overview page. Click Google Ads up here, overview, campaigns here, we'll click on the campaign there, and that's going to show us our campaigns. If you haven't paused it, that will be green like this. I'm just going to pause it for now since this is just a test campaign, and that'll show that your campaign there. And when you first start your campaign, and even ongoing, you want to be monitoring the cost, the click-through rate, the number of clicks and impression data here, and the conversion rate. So what all of these are is the impressions. That's when your ad is shown. So every time your ad is shown, that's called one impression. Well, that's an impression. The clicks are when actually someone clicks on your ad. The click-through rate is the ratio of clicks to impressions. So if you've got 10 people, if your ad was shown 100 times and then 10 people click on it, then the click-through rate there is 10%. And the idea is to try and increase your click-through rate and also increase your conversion rate. So conversions are when someone takes the action that you want them to. So in this case, it's filling out that inquiry form on your website. So that would count as one conversion, and we're going to get a conversion rate, which is the number of people that have landed on your page, or the clicks, to the number of conversions. So again, if you've got, let's say you've got 10 clicks and you've got one conversion, that's going to be a 10% conversion rate. And the way you can increase these things, and the most effective thing you can do, is by adding negative keywords to your account. And this is something that you want to do every couple of days for the first week or two to start with, and then you can slowly increase the amount of space between when you're adding negative keywords as your campaign gets older. So what are negative keywords? Well, negative keywords are keywords that we add to our account which will stop your ads from displaying. So if there's a particular search term that you don't want your ad to come up for, we would add a negative keyword. So an example of that might be dentist tools, or how to become a dentist, or dentist jobs. So they're all things that we don't want our ad to show up for. So we would come in and we would add negative keywords. So for us to know which negative keywords to add, we would go to the search terms reports, so we come over to our campaign, click on our campaign here, click on our ad group, and then we're going to highlight our keywords here. Make sure we've got the right dates selected. We'll choose all time in this case, and we're going to hit search terms. So nothing's going to come up here, but ordinarily this would show a list of every single term that your ad was displayed for. So what you want to do is you want to be going through this list and checking for search terms that weren't relevant to your ad or to your business. And then we'll add them as negative keywords. And if you click the box here, you'll be able to, there'll be a little box next to the keyword, you'll be able to add them as a negative keyword. The other way to add negative keywords is to come over down here under audiences, keywords and content, hit search keywords, and then negative keywords here, and we can click the plus here, so we might say dentist jobs. One thing you want to be really careful of is having a broad match like this, because if you have this, it means that your ads aren't going to show up for dentist. So instead we might leave the word dentist out and just have jobs. Or the other alternative is we could put in our brackets here, which, if you remember, the brackets mean exact match, so that's going to stop our ad from showing up. And so we can apply that to either the whole campaign or to the ad group. So we can hit save there. So that's one way you can, or another way you can add negative keywords. So that's, as I mentioned, you want to do that on a very regular basis when you first start, and then over time you can do that progressively less. The other thing you want to do to optimize your campaign is to make sure you have two ads running at the same time. And you want these to be always two, and you're going to be monitoring the click-through rate and the conversion rate and the conversion cost. And based on that, you're going to make a decision which ad is better. Sometimes you might have a really good click-through rate, but the conversion cost might be a lot higher than a different ad. So you have to really make a judgment call as to which is providing you the best bang for your buck. And what you would do is, once you've decided on a winner, you'd pause the ad that wasn't as effective, and then you would come in here and you would create a new responsive search ad. And you'd go through that process that I showed you before. You'd create a new ad, you would test a different offer. There's a whole science to how we test our ads, but you want to test something different to the other ad. Maybe it's a different offer, maybe it's different headlines. It could be a whole range of different things that you want to test. And again, over time, if you're continually testing ads, your ads are going to get better and better and better. Right, so as a recap, to create your campaign, you want to decide what your goal is. So whether you want someone to fill out the inquiry form or you want to get phone calls, I'd start with the inquiry form. That's going to be easiest to get going. And later down the line, you can try phone campaign as well. Then you want to choose 1 to 2 services that you want to focus on, or 1 to 2 campaign ideas. You want to set your budget as $50 to $100 a day. and you're going to choose some keywords. I would recommend you using your service to start with, like a dentist and your location. That's going to give you some very tight, efficient campaign. And you also want to make sure that you set your location to quite close to where your actual dental practice is located. When you write your ads, make sure you try and include some keywords, write some compelling text in there, and you want to send those visitors to a landing page which is specific to the actual service. Don't send them to your homepage. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you add your conversion tracking to your page as well, so that will allow you to know how your campaign is performing. After that, you want to be optimizing your campaign. So start by checking your checking your search terms report every couple of days, and then keep adding those negative keywords as you go, and your campaign will get better and better over time. Thanks very much, guys. If you need any help with your Google Ads, check out the link in the description, and you can go to my website and get in touch with me that way. Cheers.